Hey, what's up you guys? So today I wanted to discuss Twilight and I wanted to do a little bit of a book versus movie discussion. I'm hopeful that you guys have all read Twilight or at least know the relative synopsis of it because I am going to be getting into some spoilers for Twilight. I don't really know how to have this discussion without doing some Twilight spoilers, so I do apologize for that. So personally, I watched the movie first before I ever read the book, and then I went and read the book and I loved the book more. I really loved the movie back when it first came out, but I still love it. I just know that it has some flaws as a movie goes. Like, it's really, really cringy. There's a lot of Bella breathing time, and yeah, it's just a little cringy, but it's still, I think it still holds up a little bit, but just not as much as some of the other things I've watched in my life. Let's get into Bella. So in the book, Bella is awesome. I know that not everyone else will probably feel that way, but I really enjoy book Bella. I think that she has such personality, such spunk. She has some really great one-liners. Like when she says, "You really shouldn't do that. It's hardly fair," when she's talking about Edward and his dazzling, or like when she says, "Can I drive?" when she insists on driving to the meadow. Like, that's such a funny scene, and that's just really showing Bella's snark when she insists on driving. But we don't get those moments in the movie. I don't really know why they cut them as much. They probably wanted to make Bella a little more of a blank slate, because the more blanker she is, the more people can kind of put their personality or put themselves in her spot. But I personally think that book Bella is just better because of that personality and that spot. So next, let's talk about book versus movie Edward. So I feel like Edward was done pretty well with the exception of the casting. I do not feel like they cast Edward correctly. Like, I think that, you know, that guy in Riverdale that plays Archie, he would have made a better Edward because he looks more the part. He's got more of the muscles. And Robert Pattinson, he's not as chiseled as he could be. Like, he's not unattractive. He's just not as attractive as I read Edward being. Also, his hair. His hair is wrong to me in the movie. Like, it's supposed to be bronze. It looks brown. Like, make it bronze. Just try a little bit, make it bronze. And then with the whole sparkle thing, like, that was not done correctly in the movie at all, in my opinion. So in the book, he is supposed to like look like he's on fire. Like, you should be so bright and sparkly that he looks like he's on fire. In the movie, if I were walking on the street and I saw him, I could just assume he's someone that's got body glitter on. Like, that's what it looks like. It looks like he's got body glitter on and nothing else. Like, I would not think anything abnormally about him. So I just thought that was terrible. I also really, really, really hate the meadow scene in the movie. Like, in the book, it feels so magical to me. I love how they're talking to each other. It's supposed to be sunny, and in the movie, it's just not sunny. It doesn't feel bright. It feels very green and it feels very unnatural. So I just think that that scene was done so not well in the movie. Next, let's talk about how Bella discovers that Edward is a vampire. So in the movie, her whole process to that is a little bit more convoluted than it is in the book. Like, in the book, she's just straight up told by Jacob, and I kind of prefer that over her having to like Google it and then having to go to the bookstore. Like, I like that she went to the bookstore on her own accord when she went to Port Angeles, because like that shows a little bit more about who she is. That shows something that she's interested in, that gives her a hobby. In the movie, she has no hobbies. Like, I mean, in the book, she has practically no hobbies, but she's at least got one thing that she does, which is occasionally read. And in the movie, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't have a hobby. Like, she does nothing for fun that I'm aware of. And I think that they are missing that in the movie as well. Like, you've got to give your characters some, like, traits. So that's a problem. Next, let's talk about the side characters. In the movie, again, we just don't get as much from them. I feel like they're all very flat and very one-sided. And in the books, like, they've got a little bit more character. Like Mike, he's the golden retriever puppy. Why isn't he acting more like a golden retriever puppy with Bella? Why isn't he following her around a little bit more? Why isn't he trying to ask her out on numerous occasions? I wanted more. I want more of my side characters, because like the movie really is just Bella and Edward, and then occasionally you get someone else who says a word. So that's another thought. Next, let's talk about my favorite scene in the movie, the baseball scene. So I know that this video is really, really rambly and like I have no direction for it, and that is because it is completely unscripted and I just felt like doing this today. So yeah. Next, let's talk about the baseball scene. So I absolutely love the baseball scene in the movie. I think that it is iconic. I think that that is probably the best scene done in the movie. and I love it. In the book, it is probably really good as well, but I can only ever think of the movie scene whenever I think of the baseball scene, because it's just the baseball scene. Like you hear Muse Supermassive Black Hole and you think of the baseball scene. Like, I cannot hear that song and not think of them playing baseball, Edward and Emmett jumping on the trampolines and hitting each other, so obviously jumping on trampolines, might I add, and hitting each other. You know, Alice doing her wind up. I cannot play sports whatsoever. Like you think of that awesomeness, and you think of the thunder in the background, and then you think of stop, and I just love that scene. And then I also love how you can really tell how they are making the vampires look like they're moving really fast, and you can tell that, you know, they're jumping on trampolines, that they're like walking on treadmills. That's probably one of my favorite things, is the treadmill walk of the three bad guys. Oh god, that scene is so it's so cringy, but it's so good and so iconic. I really love that moment. Next, let's talk about book Cullens versus movie Cullens. So all in all, I think that the casting, they did pretty well. I wish that we had gotten more from the Cullens in the movie than we did, but we didn't get that much from them in the books to begin with. Like, especially Rosalie and Emmett, we got absolutely nothing from them in the book, so it's pretty accurate that we get absolutely nothing from them in the movie as well. And then with Alice and Jasper, I just wish that we'd had a little bit more interaction with them than we did in the movie, because we did get a little interaction with them in the book, especially Alice. And I wish that is something that they might have changed, is that they might have changed the overall interaction with the Cullens, because I feel like that's something that I'm missing in Twilight, is anything to kind of draw me a connection to them, because it makes absolutely no sense to me when we get into New Moon and Bella is like friends with Alice, and it's like, you have talked to her maybe one time. Oh, I also wish that in the movie that they hadn't changed how Bella winds up in the room with James at the end, because I loved how she had to use a little bit of her knowledge of the area in order to get there and to be able to save her mom. In the movie, like, she doesn't have to do that. She's able to kind of just like walk away, and like, these are really strong vampires. They're not just gonna let her walk away. Like, they have like done so much to try to protect her right now. Like, they're not just gonna let her walk out the door, but you know, she does. So next time, I kind of want to talk about the overall tone of the movie versus the book, and I feel like the movie just takes itself way too seriously. Like, I like the book and how it's got some like funny moments, some funny lines, some funny one-liners, but in the movie it just takes itself way too seriously, it feels like, and we don't get those funny moments as much, and I just feel like I'm missing that in the movie. Like, it just feels so serious and so tense, and part of what makes Twilight great is that sometimes it's, you know, kind of self-aware of the fact that it is a romance novel, but the Twilight movie just it doesn't have that awareness, and I think that that is something that it is really missing, and I wish that we could have gotten more of that. Another thing that I feel like the movie is just not doing real well is the Bella-Edward chemistry. Like, in the book, it does feel very insta-lovey, don't get me wrong, but like, there's also a little bit of banter there, there's a little bit of a talk there, but in the movie, it's like they have no chemistry. Like, I don't see them together as well in the movie as I do in the book, but by Breaking Dawn I'm able to see it. But just in Twilight, I feel like the chemistry is just off. They don't feel like they're really connecting. You don't get those like moments where Edward is asking a bunch of ridiculous questions and he's like, what's your birthstone? And I would be like, if I were Bella, who has one? We don't get moments like that in the movie, and I feel like it's kind of missing that to kind of build that chemistry and to build their relationship a little bit more, and so I wish that we could have gotten some of that. So now I'd kind of want to jump way back to the beginning of the movie and talk about the biology scene where we open up and Edward is just glaring at Bella for an hour, and I feel like in the movie, that scene, it is very uncomfortable, but I wish that it was more uncomfortable, because I can literally not imagine that. I cannot imagine someone staring at me, not talking to me, not paying attention to anything else that's going on, but staring at me, glaring at me for an hour. Like, I cannot fathom what that is like. I cannot imagine like having someone do that to me and then fall in love with them. Like, and so in the movie, it's very weird to watch, because you see him staring at Bella and then you get these like transitions to mark the passage of time, and I loved that scene, but like, I wish that they could have made him look more like he wanted to kill her. I would have liked to see him grab onto the table a little bit, to see him almost lock into position and sit there and glare at her. I would have liked a little bit more intensity from his expression than we got, but it's still fine because it is still funny as hell for me to watch and imagine. I also love the super subtle angel imagery that is going on in that scene. That's probably one of the things that I think that the movie is like kind of making a joke off of. Like, I cannot take that seriously. I can't take that seriously when he's got the freaking angel wings behind his back and then he goes all like crazy person, I'll murder you. Like, I can't take it seriously. Also, another one of my favorite things in the movie is the truck that is driven by no one. I don't know if any of you guys ever noticed that, but like, I watched a CinemaSins video one time and I can never not notice that anymore. I also can never not notice how many lamps Bella has in her bedroom in New Moon. So thank you so much for watching. This was my little discussion on the book versus the movie and my thoughts and, you know, what I liked and didn't like in the movie and the book. Overall, I do prefer the book to the movie. So comment down below which one you preferred more, book or movie. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I will see you in my next one. Bye!